Welcome to Scoop Road. It's Wednesday. It is the bye week. The guys are on the road. They're through two practices. They got one more practice to go before Ryan Day lets these guys get out of here for a little bit, get a little bit of rest. We're going to break down what is going on in the Woody Hayes. We're going to watch a little bit of running game film. Why was Notre Dame so effective at running the ball on us? They ran for about 170 yards. Really did a nice job in the running game. But again, they're boneheaded plays on both offense and defense as a staff cost them significantly and really cost them the game. So we're going to break that down. How can Ohio State get better? Who needs to get better? And what do we need from some of these backups? Because clearly the defensive staff did not trust many guys to play in this game. We played a handful of guys, and for the stretch run, we're going to need a few more guys. So with that being said, as always, thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate you guys as always. If you could give us a like as you watch this content. We ask you to subscribe, send this around to your friends, anybody that's an Ohio State fan. We've been breaking down a lot of film, get a lot of comments on it. We appreciate all of that. And if you enjoy our live show, click the little bell. You'll get an alert when we go live. And I want to know, who do you think needs to step up, especially defensively? Give me a name, put that down in the comments. Who needs to play better? I mean, we had some guys that frankly didn't play very well, but we escaped with a win. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. But I want to hear, who do you think needs to step up on defense? And also shout out where you guys are watching from, because I love when you guys do that. That being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevada back. Nevada, how are you tonight?
Man, I'm doing great. I've watched the Notre Dame game over a couple, probably 2.5 times right now. Kind of working on my third watching of the game, and I'm just so proud of the team, and was just really impressed with a lot of the effort and the energy and the way McCord. I'm going to call him Kyle McClutch from now on. Well, the way McClutch came up big there on the last drive, made those big throws. I just, like I said, I just can't say enough good things about him. I didn't know. I knew he had it in him. I didn't know if he had it in him this quick. Some guys do, some guys don't. And for him to do it in that situation is just going to pay huge dividends down the road. Super excited about the rest of the season. Can't wait for the next game, but really glad that we have a bye week this week because I don't know if I've come off the excitement of the win on Saturday night. So I think I need a little bit of break this weekend. So it's a good time for all of us.
Now that you've watched it a few times, been able to rewind it, is there anything that jumps out to you today that you didn't notice as much on Saturday? Obviously, everyone talks about the 10 men on the field for the last two plays, and how incredibly stupid that was by Notre Dame's coaching staff. I mean, that was just gross negligence, and honestly, they probably should fire the D-line coach after that. But, I mean, Notre Dame's O-line came off the rock, thought their scheme was good, but man, did they have some really dumb play calls, especially late in the game, that cost the team a win. But what is your feeling? What are some things that you've picked up on as you've rewatched the game?
Well, I'll talk about a little thing, then I'll jump to a bigger thing. Little thing is, it was a big thing, but down the stretch, the defensive miscues from Notre Dame were just really glaring. We broke down a play today where on the pass to Mecca, you had Kate Stover breaking free down the middle as well. So, a couple of guys free in that situation. I'm sure that we would survive. I think our website would have burned down. I think we'd have stormed the stadium and tore down the goalposts and hung him in effigy. But good thing it wasn't us. Good thing it's Notre Dame. So that's the little thing. The big elephant in the room, as far as I'm concerned, and again, we always try to give it to you straight on this. A lot of sites will try to give you the little condensed version, or they'll give you the whitewash version, or they'll tell you only the good stuff because, for whatever reason, that they don't want to really kind of dig into it. But from Ohio State's perspective, the thing that concerned me the most was the fact that a team without a running quarterback could line it up and run the ball very effectively against our Ohio State defense. And in the rewatching of the game, I think what it really came down to, and we'll kind of break this down, is Notre Dame was doing a really good job of equating numbers. We were not able to outnumber them in the box. We were not out, and Jim Knowles was just unwilling to bring guys down there and risk bringing one more than they had blockers in an effort to kind of combat the big play. So as a result, what was happening is we weren't winning the one-on-one battles up front. They had a hat on a hat. They had a good running back that was out there picking his holes, and they were chewing up big yardage with it. And that's got to get fixed. And our guys have got to be more stout. Our guys have got to win battles. And we've got to figure out a way to do this because we're going to see some teams that have good running games and have running quarterbacks in the future. And that's something that's got to be worked on schematically, because anytime you have a game where Lathan Ransom and Josh Proctor or your leading tacklers, that's problematic. And again, we can go to the film room, we can break this down, but basically what you're going to see is you're going to see hat on a hat, and that's you got to start winning some of those battles.
Yeah, I mean this is a good scheme. I like this by Notre Dame. It's pretty simple. I mean it's double teams, it's combination blocks. This is gap. I mean this is gap sound. Like I mean we've got here's your C gap player, here's your A gap player. He goes into the A gap. Here's your B gap player. Then you've got you jump backside, steals your front side A gap. Here's your B gap. Here's your C gap. Here's your D gap. Um, but this is blocked one. They're not really reading anything. They kind of give like a little bit of read option footwork here, but he's not reading anybody. And the beauty of this motion is you kind of take two because he's going to come back here and wind back down on I believe this is Sonny whoever that is, the Sam linebacker. And it puts Lathan in like a terrible position because he's chasing this jet sweep, so he's running sideways as the ball's handed off. And I mean, Joe Alt he's got an easy block. He just fits up on Jack. Jack does his job and holds the C gap. The guy who's not great here is Mike. I mean, Mike Hall gets launched here. He's back here. He plays into the B gap, and they hit him with a good combo block. And this right tackle gets a good piece of him and just kind of stiff arms him through. And pushes it back about 4 or 5 yards, and the right guard falls off on, I think that's either Steele or it's Steele. So Cody, I mean Steele got pulled for Cody for a little bit, but I mean really this is all going to to Lathan who's running across, and you've got Josh is at center field, so you're kind of spilling all this to your to your two safeties, and I mean if this guy who's stiff arming Mike Hall and drilling him out of the hole gets a better piece of this, I mean, he's all the way to Josh Proctor, and again, he's not a burner, but if he was, I mean, Tommy makes a great player, just, getting off this and recognizing it, but, he's got a bail and he gets a little piece of him, but that's 10 yards before he's touched. So, I think there's a lot of stuff they have to clean up. Again, I think that something that was astounding is how little, they trust some of these guys to play. I mean, our two DNs played the entire game. So, I know a lot of people saw Kenyatta Jackson murder a second team tackle. Like a lot of people that really don't know football and really don't understand anything, they'll go to a practice and they'll watch Kenyatta Jackson beat some third string left tackle and get a sack. And they'll say, oh, well, he's going to be Javon Curse. I was like, well, he might be that against like some third team guy, but against Notre Dame, they didn't trust him to play at all. Caden Curry and some of these guys. So, it's going to be tough because you're going to need depth down the stretch. Because when you play, you're going to play more games like this. You're going to play Wisconsin, who's going to run all over you or try to run all over you. You're going to play Michigan. And for guys like Jack and JT, when you're not rotating them at all and they've got to come off the rock, I mean, that's hard. That's really hard. And you might have to scoot Proc up a little bit, man, 'cause he's at deep center field. But, like I said, their running game, was impressive. I'm just glad that their coaches are dumb and they had some really dumb calls. Like we're gonna go to the next play, which is the one everyone remembers because it was JT's tackle for a loss, and I mean they just got 10 yards on just a straight inside zone play, and then they decide to run. It's like a counter play with a with a cross handoff. I mean this is just too cute and too slow developing for it to work, and JT does a great job here, but. But again, you don't need to do this. I mean, you're asking this guard to kick out JT, and JT's coming. I mean, JT, this is probably the biggest play he's made. He's coming off the ball. He's too far upfield. He gets a hold of the mesh, and and this is a play that cost him the game because now all of a sudden you're looking at second and 20, and what they're trying to do is do a little counter here. They're getting cute. They're trying to have a little fullback lead up in here. Then you hand it to him and he follows behind. But it's so slow developing that it just, I don't know why some of these coaches are so dumb when they call things like this. And I mean, if you just run the dive, I mean, it's there. I mean, but what were your thoughts on this play? Because this was like the turning point when Notre Dame had a lot of momentum. Then all of a sudden they got a second and very long. What was your thought on this play?
Well, first of all, what was notable is it seemed like Jack and JT were switching sides, and I think it was interesting to me that JT comes up with this big play and then follows it up the next play with, I don't know if we're going to break it down or not, but the play on the screen pass. If JT doesn't get his hands on the screen, now first of all, if he gets his hands on the screen pass, he might take it back to the house. But if they loft over his head and it goes to that running back, that guy is gone. I mean, that screen pass was set up so well that it's not an overstatement to say that JT saved our bacon on that first down play and that second down play, because those were two just tremendous efforts by him in a time when we needed somebody to step up, we needed somebody to defeat a blocker and make a play. And boy, he made two big ones because, like I said, the screen pass was gone if that pass gets over his head.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean we're bringing we're bringing the safety here. I mean we're bringing. I mean I think is that Lathan? Yeah, I mean this is like you said. I mean they have an absolute convoy. I mean they've got three green shirts and two white shirts. So like you said, if JT isn't just a superior athlete, this is. I mean these guys are deleted. I mean you got 3-on-2. And Mike's not making that play. Ty's not making that play. Tommy's gonna have to get on his horse and hit an angle. But you're right, man. I mean that is it's a game of inches, man. I'm telling you, like this game was a game of it came down to a foot, an inch, whatever, and I mean yeah, but like I mean JT, like that's two plays where it shows why he's the best player in the country, or he's the number one player in the country when he came out of high school, and I think these guys take a lot of criticism, man, but then they show up and they make some of these plays, and people are just dumb and hyper focused on the sacks. But I mean, JT here, I mean, he saves us because we're bringing. I think this is a safety blitz. That's here's Tommy, here's Steele, here's yeah. I mean, we're bringing Lathan right in the B gap, and I mean. Yeah, and the hard part is like when you bring your safety, you're bringing a guy that can run, but then all of a sudden that's when your pursuit guys that can actually get back there and catch him. So when he doesn't get there, and maybe his pressure causes his throw to drift a little bit, but man, oh man, I mean, like you said, I mean, JT saved us on two straight plays, and again, I think that's kind of what happens in seasons. Like again, it's not when I'm drawing stuff up and saying yes, this could be better, this could be that, this could be whatever, like. It's just football's not a perfect game. I mean, it's never blocked perfectly and executed perfectly and done perfectly. So, I think that it's just always interesting to see how close things could have been to going the other way. Because I mean, we all realize that. I mean, we were an inch away from not scoring versus 10 guys on defense, which would have been the end of time at Ohio State. And I'm just glad that we did for our sake because we have to. We're on the message board, and I mean, I couldn't imagine what it would have been like. But no, that was good insight. We got a super chat. Ed from Detroit. Well, CJ Hicks get more reps down the stretch so that he can get worked into more meaningful reps because teams will attack our linebackers now. See, I don't think that Jim Knowles trusts CJ Hicks. I've heard plenty from inside the Woody Hayes that he's just not gap sound. And the thing about Jim Knowles is there's literally zero room to freelance in his system. If you freelance in his system, you're going to be standing next to him watching, eating sunflower seeds because that's just how he is. And that's the knock on CJ right now is he doesn't fit in the system all the time. Sometimes he doesn't get into the gaps that he needs to get into all the time. And that's going to keep you on the bench. I mean, he trusts Cody Simon and Tommy and Steele a lot more than he trusts CJ Hicks. And CJ's got all the ability in the world, but, he's got to decide if he wants to play in Jim Knowles' system. And I think that, we saw last year with Josh Proctor. Josh Proctor blew one coverage and he was pulled for eternity, and Jim Knowles has a short hook. Like Sonny Styles is finding that out. These guys that, Malik Hartford found that out. He started a game and he had a couple bad plays and he was out. I mean, they hooked him and he watched the rest of the game. But what are your thoughts of that with CJ Hicks, Nevada?
I think CJ's a playmaker, but I agree with you. It's just, look, it's a learning process for these young guys. These young guys, have got to learn to play with responsibility. And he's learning. He's just I'm super high on CJ Hicks. I'm as high on CJ Hicks as people are on Sonny Style. I think CJ, the sky's the limit for a player like that, and his time's going to come. Right now, he's just playing behind some really good linebackers. I mean, you've got Tommy Eichenberg, you've got Steele Chambers, you've got Cody Simon, that are guys that have been here, veteran guys, have seen a lot of action, have seen a lot of snaps. But look, on Saturday night, Steele and Tommy, who I love Steele and Tommy. There are no bigger Steele and Tommy fanboy in the world than me. They weren't great. They didn't have a great. I thought that would be a Tommy Eichenberg kind of game, a Steele Chambers kind of game. And as you pointed out, they actually took Steele Chambers out for a while and put Cody Simon in. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle to hold on, but it's the kind of season where you just got to win and advance and survive and improve and stay healthy. And we've been able to do all those things. I know I've mentioned this before, but the 2002 season, Ohio State, the national media called Ohio State the Luckeyes that year. I don't know if you remember that, but
Absolutely.
They weren't the Buckeyes, they were the Luckeyes. And you know what? That turned out okay. So as far as I'm concerned, I love all the talk. I love all the opportunity for improvement. I love the tape that shows that there's things that we can do better, because we don't need to be perfect right now. We just need to keep getting better, and we're getting better, and we're finding some answers on offense. And even when our defense has some mistakes, we hold a team averaging 46 points a game to 14 points in Notre Dame, and that's by design. Knowles is going to a defensive style that is forcing teams to put together, string plays together successfully without a penalty, without a tackle for loss, without a sack, without any type of a negative play. I mean, it's kind of Jim Haycock-esque in terms of how he's approaching this right now. And, it's working. And it's working, it's working to our benefit, because the fact is we're 4-0 right now. And a lot of teams in the country would love to be 4-0, coming off a big win at Notre Dame. And I think this is a defense that's only going to get better as the year goes by. But just happy to survive and happy to have things to get on tape to learn from.
Yeah, I agree. Jesse, this is a great question. Thoughts on Mike Hall playing DN? He's quick, actually has moves, rushing the passer. See, I don't know. I mean, I think that the ends obviously are disappointed in their sack totals, but I also think that they're told to cage rush a lot, which is basically you bull rush, you contain the quarterback, and it kind of is what it is. So I think Mike, he's not a real tall guy, which I don't like as a defensive end. Like, I prefer guys that are, the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" type guys. Mike's a shorter guy. I think Mike has a much bigger advantage inside just because of his quickness. He's going against guards. I think he's better over the center, frankly. But it would be interesting, if they ran a 3-down look and put him at an end. But I just don't think he has the height because he's a shorter guy to play end. But it'd be interesting because people are obsessed with our sack totals, and our ends don't have any sacks. And who else doesn't have any sacks is Jared Verse, who's the preseason number one end in the country, plays at Florida State. He's got 0 sacks. He was Mel Kiper's top 10 guy, number one defensive end in the country. He has 0 sacks. So sometimes, and again, I'm not making excuses. Sometimes there's a lot of things going on. There's scheme stuff. They get rid of the ball fast. But again, like I think that people love to be obsessed with that number, which is it's a great number to be obsessed with. But to me, I just care about total defense. What was our total scoring defense? We're number 2 in the country right now in scoring defense, as in how many points have we allowed per game? It's like 8. So that's number 2 in the country right now. That's the only thing I care about. Because like I tell people, I don't care if we have 0 sacks, 1,000,000 sacks. We give up 5 million yards, 1,000 yards in a game, 0 yards in a game. All I care about is how many points do they put on the board. So, I mean, all those other stats are just fodder. Jim Knowles, when he came from Oklahoma State, they had 57 sacks, and they didn't win anything. They had a ton of sacks, but they didn't win anything. So I just care about total team defense and shutting people down when we need to. And it's been effective so far. Do they need to get better? Absolutely, of course. But, as Nevada talked about, 2002, nobody, I mean, they were 16-point dogs in the Miami Hurricanes game, in the championship game. I mean, that's a huge dog, when you're the number 2 team in the country. So, I mean, sometimes you got to eke out some of these games. You got to beat Cincinnati on some miracle play, or Holy Buckeye against Purdue, or, beat Illinois in overtime. A bad Illinois team. So, again, nobody at this point in the season in 02 was like, oh man, I can't wait to get my national championship ring size. They were just happy to keep plugging along, and all you got to do is just keep winning. Win by 1 point every single week, and you'll be very happy at the end. So, I'm gonna go to this next play. This is the 3rd and long. They got the nickel again. I think one of my favorite things that they're doing this year is when they sub the nickel. So they put Hancock in at nickel instead of Tanner McAllister or whoever they were running last year. And this is fit well. I mean, they run it on 3rd and 15, keep the clock moving. I like Mike Hall better here. He's physical. He's pushing the guy back. I think Ty Leak's good here. Our these guys are fit up on our linebackers, and Proc. Again, this is part of what we do with Jim Knowles' defense is we fit these two. This is a 2-back run running this type of defense. Nevada, I know you love Josh Proctor. We both love Josh Proctor, but I know you really love Josh Proctor. Talk a little bit about him this year, because I think he's been the unsung hero of the entire team. You watch him, man. I mean, he's showing up every week. He's an energy guy, a lot of production. Talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, there's no question, and I think that play right there perfectly encapsulated what Knowles is trying to do with his defense. They're playing him in a center field role. They're playing him and Ransom back. They're trying to funnel things to the safeties, get things, because what that enables them to do is it enables them to provide that deep last line of coverage on either against the pass or the run to prevent some of those big plays. But then they're sure tacklers enough to come up and make plays on things. So that's schematic. That's what they're trying to do with that. And no, Proctor and Ransom are both playing at a high level. And the Josh Proctor story, after getting pulled, I mean, that story ends. Incredible. It ends with him transferring every single time. Every single time a 6-year guy like that, there was no way he comes back. And then there's no way that he comes back and balls out. And he's doing all of that. So, I am definitely a huge Josh Proctor fan, and couldn't be happier for his success, and hope he has a long career in the NFL as a result.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's hard to root for a kid harder than you root for Josh after what he went through last year. Because, again, he was preseason. Jim Knowles says he could be an All-American safety. He plays like one drive against Notre Dame, gets pulled, never plays again. And it was bizarre how that went down. And most kids would tap out, head to Florida, head to Miami, head somewhere, be guaranteed a starting spot. And he didn't. He stayed as a 6-year guy. And a lot of people were shocked that he didn't either. I don't know how you declare for the draft if you don't play, but at a minimum, just transfer out like Taraj Mitchell did. Taraj Mitchell transferred to Florida. No hard feelings, but I mean, Taraj wasn't going to play here, and he's playing for the Gators this year. Got another super chat. Notice on the rewatch, more than a few plays that Marvin had his mouthpiece out on run plays and in on pass plays. Coincidence or something to this? Well, Marvin he wears like one of the bigger like baby pacifier like green ones, and he lets that one dangle, and then sometimes he's wearing like a regular mouth, like a regular like the red ones that they have molded for his teeth that all the players get. I don't pay attention to that as much. I mean, I think that's a tell sometimes that he'll have it, but I mean, he runs routes all the times with it dangling out. So, again, I think the bigger tell with Marvin is you just look at the pressure that he puts on his front foot in his route running. I mean, if you look at his front foot and there's no weight on it, it's a run. And if he's got it loaded up, ready to go run a route, it's a pass. I mean, like I said, I said that on the message board. I'm like, some of these guys, they gotta, have Brian Hartline, get after their stances a little bit and say, guys, you gotta make it all look the same, because eventually, like, if you have, a defensive coaching staff with a brain, they'll figure out that, there's always tells. Every team in the universe, this isn't just Ohio State. Every team in the universe has tells. They have things that when you see it, you'll say, okay, this is a run versus a pass. Sometimes it can be the stagger of the offensive line's feet. If he has a wider stagger, a more vertical stagger. I mean, a vertical stagger usually means he's a pass pro set. But I always love looking at the receivers' feet. And again, do it this Sunday when you're watching NFL football. Like watch the receivers, watch Justin Jefferson, and watch some of these big time receivers, and just look at their feet and just say, okay, I'm going to try to guess if this is a run or a pass. And you'll be stunned at how proficient you are when you see these guys like standing upright, looking disinterested because it's like an inside run and they're not going to do anything on the play. So, but I think that's very astute about the mouth guard thing. I just think that, I think that the dangling like pacifier mouth guard, it's more of just like a another like layer of swagger, I guess. These guys are always looking for stuff that they can add to their uniform that isn't team issued, that looks cool. So these guys have like lime green mouth guards that are like Supreme or Louis Vuitton or some random brand that is cool. Because you gotta remember, like, and I don't fault Marvin for this because like he's just trying to look cool and get some buzz. But he wore like the fake Louis Vuitton cleats last year that were Nikes that he had the Louis Vuitton pattern painted on, and they made him change it out on halftime. They're on TV and all over Twitter, and Twitter was a buzz about, oh my gosh, he has Louis Vuitton cleats. No, he doesn't. They're just painted with like the Louis Vuitton logo. They're not actually Louis Vuitton Nike Vapors. But that's very astute of you to notice that. And I studied that a little bit to see, is it every time that his little binky is out, it's a run, and when it's in, it's not. But I think it's kind of inconsistent, 'cause I think that a lot of these guys, for whatever reason, they wear these dangling mouthpieces and then they go run their routes. Like I noticed that in the NFL and basically every level of football. Your thoughts on that, Nevada? Yeah, here's a little shot of it. I'll put it on real quick.
Well, it's funny because I actually noticed a play where he had the binky out and he ran a
Yeah.
pass because I've been watching for that as well, and it's so ironic that we got the question, but there was a binky out play that he caught a pass on, so I can guarantee I have 100% confirmation binky out pass for completion during the game. So it may not be 100% tell, but but on the thing it tells, I just if any of you guys watched the NFL game the other day where they had that field goal block where they brought the guy in motion off the edge, and he was running in motion full speed, and he kind of came in and blocked the field goal. It was like one of the great field goal blocks I've ever seen. And he was reading the kicker, which was really interesting to
Yeah.
me because the kickers have all those idiosyncrasies about how they want to set up exactly before they go up and
Yeah.
thing. And he was reading the kicker, read that, jumped the snap, and went up there and blocked that kick. But you're right. There's always tells. That's always the game inside the game, and I love stuff like that. But on the binky, I have 100% confirmation we had a binky completion against Notre Dame, so that is not a complete tell.
Yeah, like I said, I think that a lot of these guys, if they're not primary, they're not going to put it in because they're probably not going to. If you're not the primary receiver, you're not going to get the ball, which means you're not probably going to get hit. So, they're just going to run with it out. But I think some of these guys are crazy that run and do these routes without a mouth guard in, because again, that's why do you wear a mouth guard? It's to prevent concussions. That's how a lot of concussions become more severe as you don't have a mouth guard in. So I hated wearing a mouth guard, but I did it just because of the concussion deal. But yeah, it's real interesting that people are noticing that, and again, it's weird because you know, I mean, do you really need to wear a lime green mouthpiece? And again, I'm not trying to be Mr. Get Off Your Lawn guy, but it doesn't really go with the aesthetic of the outfit. But again, it is what it is. Like I said, it's a brand that a lot of these kids are starting to wear this next trend NXTRND, and they make ski masks and mouth guards and visors and back flaps and whatever. But I think that any way that these kids can look more individual, they're going to try to do within the realm of the uniform policy that Ryan and Urban had. Urban was really strict about no team issue, or excuse me, no non-team issued gear. I remember with Tress, I mean, we had guys wearing Jordan sweatbands and Under Armour sweatbands. And, then eventually Nike started cracking down when they saw on TV guys were wearing Under Armour sweatbands with their Nike uniforms. And, that went away real quick. I mean, it was funny under Tress, we weren't allowed to spat. And for those of you guys that haven't played football, spatting is when you basically tape on the outside of your cleat and wrap it in black or white tape or whatever. I remember they got all angry at Ted Ginn because he scored a long touchdown and his shoes were spatted. And when they'd spat it, a lot of guys like the spats, it looks cool. And it covered up the Nike swoosh. So Nike sent a big no note. But now a lot of these guys are spatting. So I think Nike came off that hilltop for a little bit. But yeah, it's always interesting to see what these guys try to get away with. To mix and match with their uniform gear. Because I know that, Ryan, he cracked down on these guys. Urban was militant about it. And Trust cracked on us. I got cracked on because I wore an Under Armour undershirt for, I think it was probably my senior year or my junior. I think it's my senior year. First game I wore an Under Armour shirt because the Nike undershirts used to suck. The Nike Pro stuff, it was terrible. And so I went out and bought an Under Armour shirt because it just fit better. It's better quality material. And I did the post game interview, as a captain, and I had my jersey on, and you saw the big giant Under Armour thing right at my neck. And so I remember Trust like showed it to me. Like we had to have a meeting about it. And he took all my Buckeye leaves for that week away. So I didn't have any, I was the only guy that didn't have any Buckeye leaves. So it was like, that was my punishment for my Under Armour shirt. But I didn't care. I liked the shirt anyways. And plus I played really good. So we'll wrap this thing. Anything else about it? God, I mean, these things go so fast. We're already at 32 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see, what Ohio State does to address, the running game concerns, and you know, I think for Ohio State, rotating like we talked about playing your defensive ends the entire game. I've never seen that. I've never seen that
Never, ever.
at any level of football.
No.
I've never seen that. So it was definitely they were having short rotations. Carnell Tate didn't get in. They they weren't rotating on the defensive line. You know what? I think Mayan got one carry into a walled city there near the goal line, and I mean
Yeah.
they were definitely shortening the bench and going trying to get beat with their best. But I think those guys just wear down. I mean, as you pointed out a million times, on defense you got to run to the ball every play. On offense, you don't have to run to the ball every play. So those defensive guys get worn down, and I'm a little shocked that they didn't rotate them at all. But like I said, anytime you win, I'll take it, and whatever they did worked. So God bless them. Go Bucks.
Yeah. And again, and this is just from my eyes and being in coaching rooms, it just means that they don't trust the backups to play versus two good tackles, Joe Alt and the other kid. I mean, those are two. Joe Alt's a top 10 pick. I mean, he played a fantastic game, and they didn't trust Kenyatta and Caden Kerr to go against him. Caden got in as a fullback for a play, but again, like in a game like that it was just overwhelmingly physical between the DNs, the tackles, the D tackles, the offensive guards, the amount of double teams, the amount of run blocks they had to play. Like that's an exhausting, tiring game. And to not rotate, like I said, I don't think I've ever seen that short of a rotation ever on the D line. I think we played 3 D tackles and 2 DNs. And I mean, I haven't seen that against when we played like Florida A&M, let alone like a team like Notre Dame that's a really physical team. Because again, a lot of the reason you rotate is because these guys are getting just hammered with double teams, like especially the interior guys, like, and that's hard. I mean, when you're getting double teamed by 2 310-pound dudes that are really good and really physical, like, you gotta like get a little break from that. But again, like, props to those guys, because I know everybody hates Jack Sawyer and everybody hates JT Tumalal. I think those guys are absolute animals, and I think that those guys should be given medals for playing that entire game, holding them to, I mean, I know that granted they had 170, but like they got the dub, which is all that matters, and it doesn't matter if they have 10 guys on the field or anything else. Like those guys played the whole way. And like I said, I've never seen that before, so props to those guys. And, I mean, it's risky to do it, but props to Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles, because they got it done and they rode with the guys that they trusted to play. And again, if you play for Jim Knowles, I'll say this a million times, if you aren't up to snuff, he's not going to put you in the game. Not if you're not up to his standard, he's not just going to put you in to make you feel good or because your parents are there or because someone else is tired. He's going to say, screw it. You're not up to my standard yet, so you can watch until you decide to get up to the standard. And again, it's not being big meanie, but this is, I have eyeballs, and like I said, I was stunned when I was like, man, we're not playing any backups, are we? And we sure didn't. So I'm going to wrap this thing. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a big week of content here on BuckeyeScoop.com. We've had a bunch of nuggets about what's going on inside the bye week, including a new secret weapon, a guy that's helping evaluate some of the current players for the NFL draft. So chime in to BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys aren't members, you need to join it for the stretch run. I think this is going to end up being a pretty magical season. We got a lot of momentum. Team of Destiny. Ryan's got the team galvanized. Nice little break here this weekend for these guys. So I hope they all enjoyed it. I hope they all travel safe. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. A little break from the heart attack that was the Notre Dame game. So As always, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Make sure you shout out where you're from. Let me know who your defensive MVP was from the Notre Dame game. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.